Today's segment, banana bread recipes. Now this particular banana bread recipe is extremely easy to make and very, very high quality. To give you an idea, some years back my wife was invited to a banana bread baking party, and she made this particular recipe and brought it to the party. And after all was said and done, the people at the party basically decided that the recipe that she made was hands down the best that was brought in that evening. And then she told everyone, well, my husband's a chef and he was a pastry chef, and he gave me the recipe and showed me how to do this, and I executed it as per his instructions. And so she can't participate in any more baking competitions or parties because of that. But that's okay. The banana bread recipes that you're going to get tonight, very, very cool, very, very simple. We're going to be doing banana bread pudding, which we see here. And this also actually has a banana and raspberry white chocolate chip ice cream in the center with a Belgian chocolate sauce over the top of it. This is a blackberry brandy Belgian chocolate sauce. So at the end of this program, you're going to get the recipes for all the banana breads that we're going to do. But the ice cream and the chocolate sauce, you have to tune into the chocolate overdose class and the decadent ice cream class for those. There's that hook. All right. Say hello to my assistant Frankie. Frankie doesn't take any lip from anyone, especially me. And during the course of this program, we're going to give you some tips on different things in the kitchen. How to take care of things, how to put things away, how to wrap things. We're also going to show you how to make a banana battered French toast with the same banana bread recipe. We're going to show you how to convert it into muffins, and we're going to show you how to convert it into the banana pudding recipe that you see before you. And this particular recipe was made with cinnamon and whole cherries. So, we are about to begin our program in a moment. But first we want to remind everybody that your participation in supporting the library is crucial for funding for the library, especially in times like now. So, anything that you can do to help support your public library and maintain the services they provide your community, I highly recommend that you light a fire under it and get going and make sure that they get as much support as possible through these trying times. And speaking of these trying times, here's a little hint to help everybody at home to get through this. If you are looking and cannot find hand soap or hand sanitizer in the stores at this point in time, don't sweat it. Buy dish soap. Dish soap is chemically formulated to dissolve and break apart fats and oils. The coronavirus has a fatty exterior to its cell structure, which basically means dishwashing soap is perfect for killing it. And sanitizing your hands at the same time without drying them out, because if you buy top-end dishwashing soaps, like say for example an Ajax or a Palmolive, wherever the case may be, they actually have lotions in there, conditioners in the soap that prevent your hands from drying out as much. So it's the perfect combination. Also too, if you go into the stores, pretty much all the stores, you're going to find they have a lot of dish soap on hand and none of the other two. And what you want is dish soap, bar none. Dish soap is known in the restaurant business for being capable of doing all these things. And so when the news came out and what was taking place in here and the other, every chef I know immediately turned to dish soap because it is the number one workhorse in dealing with preventing cross-contamination with viruses and bacteria. Inexpensive, easy to find. So definitely put that in your arsenal of things that you need to take care of your family and stay as safe as possible through the tough times that we have ahead of us. So with that said, let's move right on into making some banana bread. Okay, we're going to begin this class by making banana bread. And once we've made the banana bread, we're going to take that recipe and it's going to genesis into other dishes. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our banana bread first, and then we're going to make banana bread pudding, and we are going to make banana battered banana toast, French toast. So we're about to get started. First thing you want to do is make sure that your shortening is in the bowl first. After the shortening is added to the bowl, you attach the bowl to the mixer. This makes it much easier for you to start the process, so you're not messing around trying to get around the whip. We're going to add our sugar, and we're going to start it. And make sure that it's blended together well. After the sugar and shortening are incorporated with one another, we're going to add our egg. Egg is already whipped, so we have an easier time incorporating it. It's not necessary, but we're doing it for expediency purposes. And we're going to lower our bowl, and very important, scrape the insides of the bowl well so that you don't have any extra lumps. Don't want lumps. Lumps are bad. Okay? After that, we raise the bowl back up, we turn it on, and we start to incorporate our bananas. One at a time. Let the machine do the work. After the bananas are incorporated with the shortening and with the sugar and the egg, next on our list to add to this is our extracts. Vanilla, almond, if you have banana, always a good choice, and lemon juice. And again, we turn it back on slowly so you don't wear it. And then we're going to add our leavening agents, our baking powder and our baking soda. We'll let those stir in slowly and then fast. Now once they're incorporated, we're going to add our flour and we're going to add our milk. Now the flour, what we can do is literally, with this recipe, add it all at once. It's not a big deal. This will incorporate very easily and very thoroughly. It's a well-balanced recipe. And return the bowl to its normal position. Start it back up. Always start slow. And then once it starts to incorporate, speed it up. And if you're wearing black, definitely don't start fast. I'm going to slow this down to just barely a mix. And we're going to add our half and half last. And once again, we don't want the speed too high because you don't want to wear it. We turn it off, lower the bowl. Use our spatula to scrape the insides thoroughly so that we don't have any lumps and everything's incorporated. Remember, lumps like shortening or in particular sugar can burn holes on the inside of the batter when the bread is being baked. So that's the most important reason for making sure that it's a very smooth consistency all the way through. Okay? And just like that, we're done. Easy and to the point. Now we're going to fill our baking pans. One of the things you want to remember is regardless of the size of baking pan that you're using, you don't want to fill it to the point where the batter collapses in on itself from its own weight. So generally speaking, you're going to go no more than halfway up the pan, regardless of what kind of a pan that you're using. Second part is buttering and flouring the insides of the pans is not necessary. What I do recommend is using baking paper on the bottom of the pans, just like we're using here. That will prevent massive sticking if you do have that problem with your pan. So it's a nice little insurance policy. After that, the bread itself will release easily from the sides of the pan, so you don't have to worry about that. And we are good. Now, one of the things you want to remember about any type of a batter that you're using, once it starts to warm up, it's going to spread out and even on its own. So you don't have to worry necessarily about it being not exactly even when you put it in the pan. 99% of the time it's going to self-spread and self-level by itself. So don't worry about that part. Now next what we're going to do is we're going to make some muffins with the exact same batter. One of the things you want to do to get even consistency out of your muffins is have a portioning device that will make sure that every single time you put a scoop into one of these cups, it's the same. An ice cream scoop is perfect for the job. And so we're going to use that. Now on the inside of these pans, what we have here are pitted whole cherries. This is going to be for our banana bread pudding. And we're going to take the muffins with the cherries in them and we're going to cut them up after they come out of the oven. And we're going to use these for our pudding. And then we're going to use our loaf of bread that's going to go in, and that's going to be for our banana toast, our French toast. So let's begin. One of the things you want to keep in mind is always make sure that your portions are the same, and you want to get as little of the batter on the side of the cup as absolutely possible. This way you're ensuring that you're going to get a nice even bake. Now because we're going to be cutting this up, we don't have to worry about them being exactly perfect and even, because they're going to meet their demise at the end of a French knife. Now when you're taking muffins like this and you're putting fruit in it, you can use whole fresh fruit that's solid and dense, like pitted cherries like we have here, or you can use berries, and the berries you can use, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, best to put them in when they're frozen and whole. That way by the time they get hot in the inside of the muffin and the batter's baking, they won't loose with all of their juices. And so when you get the muffin later on and you're serving it, that berry that's inside of the muffin is nice and juicy and has a great texture to it. It does not have the same texture and the same amount of moisture if you put it in and it's fresh and not frozen. So you're always better off using frozen when you're using berries to do something like this. And we're all set. Pretty easy, huh? 22 minutes in, the muffins are done, and the bread's about 5 minutes away from being done. And here are the muffins. They are already done. Notice the color, nice and brown on the top, still done on the sides. Now they're going to be a little bit hot and sticky right now. We're going to let them cool off. That way they'll have more body and texture to them. And then when we break them apart and put them into our pan, it'll be easier to make the bread pudding. If we try doing it now when they're warm, it's just going to crumble and fall apart on us. Another thing that you can do if you really want them even more firm to handle with, let them cool off in the pan first, take them out, put them into your refrigerator and even your freezer before you cut them up. And then you can get nice precise cuts if you so desire. Alright, our banana bread is now out of the oven, and we are going to do a simple thing. We're just going to basically run a knife along the edge. You see I'm not even holding the pan, how simple this is. And if I was in school that day properly, it's going to just pop right out. Like so. And there you have finished product, banana bread. Now when it comes to storing the banana bread till you want it, you take a sheet of plastic, lay it out across your table, put the banana bread into it like so, tear it off, and fold it. Now the banana bread is still warm, which is fine. And what we do is squeeze the air out of it, give it a nice airtight seal. The warmth of the bread will cause the plastic to collapse and tighten, and you have a nice seal. And you'll have a really, really nice sealed product. So you don't have to worry about it getting stale on you, anything getting into it like odors, and you're all set and ready to rock and roll. Now we're taking the banana muffins that we made and breaking them up and putting them into the pan to make our bread pudding. The reason that we're using the muffins and not the bread is because we have more baked caramelized exterior, which gives it a really nice caramel flavor and is also a little bit sturdier than just taking a loaf of bread and cutting it up, although that's perfectly acceptable as well too. This is just what I think is a superior version of doing the same thing. As you can see, we're not going to get any crazy about this. We're just going to break it all up and fill the pan, and then we're going to add our batter and we're going to pop it into the oven. And now we're ready to make the batter for the banana bread. And in here we have all of our ingredients except for our milk. And all we have to do is just turn it on and slowly add the milk, and we're all set and ready to rock and roll. Okay, here we go. Pretty easy stuff. Now we're going to make sure that there's no lumps in here, as in the form of banana pieces, even though that really doesn't make much of a difference. And we're in pretty good shape. There's only one piece that we can see. And we're going to add the milk and we'll be all done. It was that easy. All set, ready to rock and roll. We're going to pour this over our mixture, pop it in the oven, and while it's in the oven, we're going to make our topping for it. And we're going to add our batter. We'll let it seek its own level. You see a couple of small pieces of banana coming out that weren't pureed. Absolutely no problem at all. You can see that the recipe is pretty much right on the head where we want it. Now what we'll do is we'll use this knife to basically make sure that the batter gets all the way through in between everything. So we're going to literally use it to mix things up. We're not going to stir it, we're just moving things around so that the batter settles in between everything. That way we're sure, for the most part, that when it comes time to cut this up, we're not going to have any air pockets on the inside, and the batter will be allowed to hold the bread and the cherries together. Okay, we're going to do the topping for the banana pudding, and in here we have pecans, cinnamon, butter, soft butter at room temperature but not melted, and brown sugar. So you've basically got 4 ingredients in here: cinnamon, butter, pecans, brown sugar, and you're all set and ready to rock and roll. You can also take banana chips and chop them up and put them in here as well too. Makes for a nice different way of doing things. We'll turn it off and make sure it's getting mixed up properly. You can see how there's still a lot of butter there. And we're all done, just like that. Now we're going to add the topping. The bread pudding is done. Not quite fully done, but very close. Now the topping, we warmed it up just slightly on the defrost cycle, so it has a very soft, easy to move easy to spread consistency, but notice that it's not separated. So you only give it a couple of short bursts on defrost so that it loosens it up and gets it to a nice, easy consistency to work with. And then we do this. Now, if you have any little pieces of butter that are left that are not completely chopped up and spread into the mix itself, don't worry about it. This is going in the oven and it's going to bake. And it'll dissolve and blend in with everything else. So that is absolutely not a problem. And here we go. Simple and to the point. Now what will happen is when this melts in the oven, the sugar will caramelize. We'll mix it with the pecans and the butter will literally melt and sink into the bread pudding, and you're going to have a really decadent, almost a German-style streusel topping for the top of the bread pudding. And then at this point in time, it'll be easy to cut up and pull out of the pan, or to actually scoop out with an ice cream scoop. You can do that too. Either way, it's going to work out well. Okay, back to our favorite piece of equipment in the kitchen for this video is our food processor. And we're about to make the banana batter. Once again, very simple method. Everything goes in a blender. We turn it on. We'll let it blend. And then we'll check the consistency and see how it handles a piece of banana bread going into it and then going into a skillet. So if we have to make any adjustments, we will. Perhaps the banana water content will be a little bit different. And when we do this banana batter following the recipe, it'll be a little thin. So we add a touch of flour to it and thicken it up. Or maybe it'll be a little bit too thick, and we'll add a touch of milk or half and half to it and thin it down a little bit. So we totally play it by ear. We do a test piece to see how it's going to go, and then we'll know what the rest of them are going to turn out, how it's going to look. And here we go. Now we're going to turn it off for a couple of seconds and we're going to scrape down the sides. We're going to turn it back on for a last blast to make sure we get the last few pieces. And then we're going to start making us some banana battered French toast. In the meantime, we're going to take our banana bread pudding out of the oven and let that cool. Okay, here we go. Now the banana bread is done. It's in the loaf. We already had it wrapped up in plastic. To show you a cute little trick, you do not have to tear all the plastic off. You can keep it exactly where it's at now that we had it sealed up when it was a little bit warm, because you got a nice flush seal with the plastic. And this is what we're going to do with it. And everything comes right off. A little piece of paper on the bottom, and we're done. The rest of it's still got the rest of its nice seal. And we just wrap it up with plastic and seal the end and keep it as it is. And so now you're not using extra plastic than you need to throw into the garbage dumps. And also too, you got a very, very nice seal, so you're keeping the freshness. And notice how consistent the baking is all the way through, top to bottom, no raw spots. All because we didn't overfill the pan and we followed the recipe. Remember, when you're doing baking and pastries, you're doing formulas. So when you change the formula, you're going to change the outcome. It's not the same as cooking. So always make sure that whenever you're paying attention to any of these details, as far as the formula goes for baking, be precise. The more precise you are, the less errors you're going to have. Okay, we're going to start frying the banana bread. And here we have clarified butter. This is basically butter that's been melted, and all of the fat and impurities have been gotten out of it. Impurities, water, and milk, and the fat itself, and now it leaves us with just the oil. Our pan is preheated. And without the fats and milk, the temperature for frying is much higher. Remember, whenever you're adding anything to a pan, like I'm doing now, always do it slowly. Make sure your piece of banana bread is covered completely. Notice how I'm not getting splashed by any hot oil. Everything is nice and simple and to the point. Slow movement with hot oil means you're less likely to be burned. That's kind of important. And here we have our banana battered bread with our banana batter in the oil and frying. Now you're in no hurry. You want to take your time and let the pan do the job for you. Okay? And also keep in mind too that once you flip these pieces, if you see any of the bread that doesn't have quite enough batter on it, you can certainly use something like a teaspoon or a tablespoon, maybe even a soup spoon, and pour a little bit of the batter on the bald spot, and you're all set and ready to rock and roll. And we got a nice golden brown color. So what we're looking for. There we go. You can see how it's caramelizing quite nicely. Whenever you get that nice brown color like that, that's natural sugars or the sugars that have been added to the batter that are caramelizing because of the heat generated by the pan and the cooking element itself. And on this one exposed end, we're going to add just a little bit of banana batter, as I was explaining earlier. And just like that. No problems. All done. Now keep in mind, whenever you're cooking anything like this, there's a lot of different ways to serve it. You can serve this with whipped cream, fresh fruit. You can take some whipped butter, honey, maple syrup. You can even use fruit-flavored syrups if you wish. Agave syrup, totally up to you. Whatever floats your boat, go for it. Don't slow down, do what you want to do. After all, it's your kitchen and it's your food, so do it the way that you want. Your rules in your own kitchen. And we're going to put our banana bread onto a plate now and have a sample and see how we think it's come out. And we'll take this piece out of our skillet and lay it down. Make sure it's not too hot so you don't burn your lips. Whoa. That's the best batch I've made all day. How about that? And it's time we got a good look at that banana pudding. See how that's going to come out now that we're going for broke. Let's check this out. Now remember, when you're doing any type of a bread pudding or a fruit pudding like this, it should actually be a little bit soft. It should not be dry and hard. It should be moist and tender every bite. And here we go. Bread puddings like this are excellent with ice cream. Oh. That's serious bread pudding. Spot on the head. Notice how it's nice and soft and tender and moist all the way through. Excellent texture. Nice and hot. And notice how the topping isn't hard and crunchy. It's moist and it seeps in just like a sauce. This is what you're looking for. And of course, you get your bonus when you find the cherries. Now that's some good eating.